I call this meeting to order. Mr. Bertram, would you call roll, please?
Mr. Moore?
Here.
Mrs. Scheibert?
Here.
Ms. Novak via Zoom this evening?
Here.
And there may be a delay as well with Ms. Novak speaking.
Okay.
Just to give you a heads up on that. Mrs. Mulligan? Here. And Dr. Urso?
Here. Could you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Is there a motion to approve tonight's agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Any questions regarding said agenda? If there are none, then Mr. Bertram.
Mr. Moore?
Yes.
Mrs. Scheibert?
Yes.
Ms. Novak?
Yes.
Mrs. Mulligan?
Yes.
Dr. Urso?
Yes. At this time, we have public participation, and we have 4 community members that would like to speak to the board.
You'll need to unlock your iPhone first.
I don't know how to do it. It's a new phone.
Do you want it on?
No.
Okay.
She gave herself away.
I got it on silent for you. She won't talk to us anymore.
Sorry about that.
At this time, I'd like to welcome Isadora Carrick to address the board. Hey, Izzy.
Hello, my name is Isadora Carrick and I'm a Central Academy kid. I've spent all 7 years of my elementary education at Central. I am now a sophomore in high school and I realized I would not be the person I am today without Central and its influence. I didn't understand the difference in the way our classrooms were until I got to junior high. I'm grade accelerated in several subjects and I've never thought differently about interacting with students of other ages, so I was surprised when I observed that other students had a difficult time with this. For instance, I had a class where 4 of us were accelerated and we all sat together because none of the older kids would interact with us. I never encountered this kind of behavior before, as I had never been made to feel bad about being smart. At Central, older kids and younger kids worked side by side on the same subject matter because we were the same developmental level, even if we weren't the same age or grade. There was no stigma being a younger kid working up a grade level or being an older kid working down. We all supported each other and succeeded at our own pace. Theater is a big part of my life, and I've gotten to perform on many stages, including a professional off-Broadway production house. One particular production involved a multitude of age ranges. Many of the kids were unable to connect outside of their immediate peers. I, however, did not have an issue with this. The stage managers and directors noticed that I was able to easily interact among all groups and tasked me with taking on a leadership role during rehearsals and backstage during the run of the show. My experiences at Central taught me how to interact with different ages and grades. After spending the last 4 years with a traditional grade learning, I understood how much easier Central's looping classes made things. As an older, I returned to school in the fall with a teacher who already knew my personality. They knew how I learned, and they knew how to encourage and inspire me and they also knew how to keep me in line. The teachers had to learn a new set of students in the fall, but half of their students they already knew. There was already a comfort level in the classroom that the olders imparted to the youngers that allowed the teachers to focus on a smaller group of kids to connect with. It jump-started our learning because less time was needed to form bonds and trusts. I would like to thank you for allowing me this opportunity to speak with you on a subject that I feel is important. Central Academy is different. The multi-year and multi-grade classrooms allow us more time to form bonds and allow us to support each other. While learning from books and taking tests propels our knowledge, the opportunity Central presents us to form personal bonds is equally or more important. Life isn't just about knowledge. It's about how we interact with the people around us. I believe Central's looping classrooms to be a strong tool to foster these very important skills.
Thanks, Izzy. I'd like to welcome Sue Whitman.
Good evening. My name is Sue Whitman. I currently live in Dayton, but I'm a Middletown native, and I've made my home here from 1989 until about a month ago. I'm the director of the Arts Central Foundation, a visual arts nonprofit that serves students from Middletown and the 7 surrounding school districts. I'm here to speak in support of Central Academy returning to a true multi-age, non-graded school, not moving further from this model. Both of my sons, Noah and Jonah Rogers, attended Central Academy in the early 2000s, when Central had a true multi-age learning environment. I was fortunate enough to attend a Montessori preschool when I was young, and that positive democratic learning experience has never left me. When I learned of this opportunity was available to my children within the Middletown public school system, I was thrilled. My family's financial situation would never have allowed me to send my sons to a private non-graded school. My sons both thrived at Central Academy, but for entirely different reasons. Noah is a solitary learner, but benefited from Central's collaborative learning environment. He learned the importance of an open dialogue within a peer group and working as a team. He is now in his final year of his PhD program in astrophysics at the University of Minnesota. Jonah needed the connection to and support of his classmates, and he learned to be a mentor as he progressed through Central. He was the first class to complete the 8th grade at Central. He now has a degree in psychology and works with children on the autism spectrum to ready them for integration into the public school system. The Central Academy my sons attended is not the same Central Academy of today, and I feel this is a tragedy for so many Middletown families who would appreciate an alternate learning option for their children. I would hope that when making such a decision, that the data from when Central was a true democratic learning facility will be examined. At that time, the staff at Central received professional development they needed to make this model successful. I've come to understand that there has been no professional development around multi-age learning for the staff since 2012, sadly including many teachers who have never experienced multi-age learning prior to being hired at Central. Current data taken from Central should be weighed as such, especially when adding the many challenges the pandemic has thrust onto learning in general. This democratic learning model cannot be done well virtually or even socially distanced. I hope you will return Central to the multi-age, non-graded learning model on which it was founded, and give the instructors the support and professional development they need to have this model be as successful as it was when my sons attended. Thank you.
Thank you, Sue. I'd like to welcome Tammy Schwartz.
Good evening, and thank you for allowing me to talk. My name is Dr. Tammy Schwartz, and I am a faculty member at Miami University. I am the founding director and a current director of what was the urban teaching cohort, is now an interdisciplinary urban cohort. I've been in education, particularly urban education, for more than 30 years, and I've been in schools not only in this area, across the state, across the country, and also around the world. And I have to say, without a doubt, and I say this at the core of my being, Central Academy, during the time that I worked in a deep partnership with that school from about 2009 to 2012, was one of the most unusual, beautiful, and extravagant spaces for kids to learn that I had seen anywhere. Like, this made this district very innovative. A quick short story. My very first day that I came to Central, I was there to visit, to begin the partnership. When I came in the door, I was not greeted by an adult. I was greeted by children, multi-ages, who greeted me at the front door. "Hi, Dr. Schwartz," shook my hand, looked me in the eye. "Welcome to Central Academy. We'd like to show you around." It was at least 45 minutes later that I saw an adult in the building after I had been given a tour by what were typically 3rd and 4th graders around a school. I have not seen that kind of energy in a building in any other place that I have been across the globe. And watching young people have the agency and sense that this is my school, and I'm valued enough that I could greet someone at the front door to show them around. You should be so proud of that. And hearing some of the stories already, I imagine you are. I'm here to talk specifically about challenging you and encouraging you to keep that model at that school, that multi-age model. The socio-emotional learning outcomes from kids being able to build community like that, be a mentor to younger students, be a younger student and not have to worry about, as someone mentioned earlier, the stigma about what it meant not to learn at what I'm supposed to be doing on grade level. Also, too, we know that multi-age in particular, it's the best possible version of differentiation, which is what I hear from school districts all the time. Help teach your teacher candidates how to better differentiate. That's a model in how to do that. We all know, too, especially since the pandemic, that there is a teacher shortage crisis. I had students in my program asking to teach in a space like that, and as a result of that, seeing the wonderful potential that public education could have. So I strongly encourage you to keep Central Academy, particularly the multi-age, as part of what you're doing in this district. Thank you.
Thank you. And finally, I'd like to welcome Jackie Phillips Carter.
Mr. Hightower, and I will fall, and I can retire early because the city will.
Yeah, she's smart.
Good evening. Good evening. Welcome board. I am so glad. Oh, I have to say my name, right? Or not? No,
yeah,
not really.
we know who you are.
Phillips, no. Longtime resident of the city of Middletown, the great city of Middletown, and I come before you this evening very pleasantly because I'm not speaking about COVID, right? So yay. So this is just a personal statement I would like to have on the record. I have heard so many rumors and conversations and statements about the city of Middletown. Our transition, our transformation, our adapting to change or whatever. And we are all coming out of a pandemic. We're all trying to get back in some kind of normal type of living and being. But I heard something that the school board was maybe going to speak about or talk about investing more in our community, especially our Robert Sunny Hill Community Center. And I like to just be on the record to say I really support that effort. I would hope that there is never a doubt whether it's a good thing to continue to invest in the beautiful city of Middletown. I do believe that the people that sit here love it, breathe it, live in it, work in it, play in it, knows that we are built from a different fiber than any other community. And to ever doubt whether we should invest in our community or not would be a shame, because our community continues to become great. We have great people here. I know most of you. I know all of you, actually. And I just really wanted to put on like I said, on the record that whether it's $1 or $1 million or $1 billion, our community is worth investing and building back greatness again. I just think we had a little hiccup with the virus, but I'm sure that we're going to move fast and furiously to our wonderful future. So if it's anything I can do, I also would love to give more of the Hightower's money towards this. I'm just kidding. Anybody else's? But really, truly, if there's anything I can do, you guys know that I'm here for you and I'll work hard. I've always voted yes for every school levy. And I will continue to support this wonderful institution because I truly believe in Middletown. So thank you.
Thank you. At this time, I'll turn the meeting over to our superintendent for a presentation on the Robert Sunny Hill Community Center presentation.
Thank you, Dr. Urso. As Mr. Stephen Hightower is working his way up to the microphone, hopefully that's still on for you. I just want to talk about the conversation that we had tonight as part of the presentation. I know the community center is a board committee, but tonight I wanted to just invite one of our community members in who does serve as the chair of the committee to just provide an update for the board and really kind of center our conversation around the status of the committee, the project itself, and provide some updates. From a superintendent standpoint, I want to just kind of level set the conversation before we get started. Mr. Burcham, if I forget anything, please correct me here. First, I want to talk about this notion of a deadline, and there's been a lot of conversation in the committee itself, internally in the district, and now out in the community around this idea of there's a time crunch all of a sudden on this whole project. So I want to just generate hopefully some clear understanding of why all of a sudden we feel pressed for time. This is not a Stephen Hightower timeline. It's not a Randy Bertram timeline. It's not a school board timeline. It's actually a federal government timeline. The funds that we have allocated as a school district are ESSER funds. The federal government has put a timeline on the usage of those funds for August of 2024. That's a deadline that was established for every school system in the United States. As you look at this project here, those funds need to be out of the bank account basically and bills paid by August of 2024, which means a timeline is now active. We're already in April of 2022. What we've done, knowing that this is a brick and mortar project, we've talked about construction, our business operations department, as well as our senior leadership. We've worked to really go backwards and back map this whole project to get an understanding of how long it would take for construction, how long it would take for punch list items, how long it would take for bills and invoices to come in, or for those bills to be paid, checks written, money out of the bank. We tried to get an understanding of the trajectory of how long it would take from start to finish, putting a shovel in the ground, to construction being done, all the way to the very beginning of the new spaces potentially being designed by an architecture firm, RFPs having to go out and the timelines associated with each RFP. As you back map all that technical work, and I apologize if I'm boring you with technical work, but it's really caused us to truly understand that we have to get this project started quickly, or else the end of the project hits and August of 2024 is upon us. So when you hear this idea of a timeline being established out in the community or even internally or externally in the district, please understand it's coming from the federal government and the source of funding and the requirements attached to it. Again, this is not coming from the school board, this is coming from the federal government. So as we've entertained communicating this with our committee, the joint committee between council and the board, we really tried to articulate why the end of April is critical for a discussion and a decision to be made about moving this project forward. And we have some leeway to get into May, and we'll talk a little bit about that here tonight with Mr. Hightower. But we're in that window right now, the sweet spot where we need to decide, is this project ready to be green lighted? Is it feasible? We'll get into that in a moment, or not, as it relates to the timeline, because worst case scenario, let's start best case scenario. Best case scenario, it's a thumbs up, right? We still have time to execute the project from start to finish. Worst case scenario, which we don't like talking about, Mr. Hightower and I have been having that conversation, the board still needs time to have a discussion about the $4 million should this project not move forward for technical reasons, which we'll talk about in the update, to entertain how we would repurpose and reallocate those funds. Now that is worst case scenario. I know we all are hoping that the update we receive here gets us in the best case scenario and we move this project forward. So I just wanted to take a quick, hopefully 3 or 4 minute overview and establish why we're talking about timeline, so we're all on the same page about why we're in a crunch right now. Secondarily, what I'd like to just bring up as well is this idea that the district does not own the building. That is a fact. I think that is public knowledge that the school district does not own the community center. I know the board takes a lot of pride in being responsible and fiscal stewards and making sure that we're very thorough in all of our actions. So I just wanted to share that currently we are collaborating to really explore the idea of some guiding principles to work towards an agreement with City Council. And I know the board hasn't had any formal discussion either as council about the idea of coming to an agreement about entities being part of this project at Robert Sonny Hill Community Center. The board investing funds in a facility, a campus that it does not own, making sure that we've got some principles that we can agree upon, so at the end of the project there's an agreement between council and the board about the property itself, since we do not own it. Don't have any discussion planned for you as it sits currently. Just know that we're working with the acting city manager, getting legal counsel that the board has as well, to start digging through some of that, and we anticipate coming back to the board. I anticipate acting city manager Lally going to council as well to start that dialogue, engage in some discussion. Don't have that started for you here tonight, but just wanted to share with the board that Mr. Bertram and I, from an executive leadership standpoint, are working through the legalities and trying to dig into that conversation there. So 2 big high-level topics for you before we transition over to our guest speaker. Mr. Hightower is the committee chair for the community committee. As the board knows, each board member selected community members to represent you on the committee. The board's committee consists of Ms. Novak and Dr. Ursa, who sit on that. Tonight, our hope is just to provide an update for the board, a status update of where the committee is at. We invited Mr. Hightower, who's been a fantastic leader for us in this whole journey. Is going to share a quick update for the board, but also pause to share some Q&A along the way. So, Mr. Hightower, thank you for being here. Excited to hear what you have to say.
Thank you very much, Mr. Stiles, and thank you very much to the board. I really appreciate you taking the time to consider and hear about this important update on a very important project. This project started about a year ago with a group. Some of them here today just said, what can we do to help our young people? What can we do beyond what the important work that our educators do every day in the class, but are faced with some challenges. And I think we all can recognize that the challenges, particularly post-pandemic, when our children were at home and in sometimes unspeakable circumstances, observing different things that we're all going through in the society, and our children, our youth are suffering. And we must do something. And that was the premise where a group of us got together, originally took a tour of the Boys and Girls Club in Westchester and said, this is a great idea. What if something like this we could bring back to Middletown? And we just got together and started putting things together. And this board initially committed the $4 million to this project, along with the city, in a historic joint effort to come together to address and do something big once in a generation for the city. And that's sort of the context in which this project was born. And we looked around and we knew that we had a great asset in one of the hardest hit communities in the city, at the Robert Sonny Hill Community Center. And what a perfect asset to invest in and to redevelop. And we have such an opportunity in the gateway of our city to go along with other plans. So then began that work where the committee was established. Our committee had to take some time to organize ourselves. We organized ourselves into subcommittees, Community Input and Visioning Committee, Programming, Sustainability, and a project team. The community input, just as it sounds, was responsible for making sure that we had heard from the stakeholders and were able to get all that input to be a part of a greater plan. Programming, talking about the different elements that we would like to see within that community center in the future. Sustainability, how do we create something that's here for long term and we're not coming back to the city or the school board to keep lights on? We want to build something that is sustainable and has things built within it. And each and every element, we consider how do we fund this and keep it going well beyond our time. And then finally, the project team. The project team was responsible for the nuts and bolts in the RFP. And we got to a point where we said we need a project manager. And that process took longer, frankly, than any of us would like, because certain things out of our control, COVID, some changes in administration, et cetera. But we received those, and what that committee decided was we really need to do a study. We need to know what the facts are, what are reasonable. Within that time, we also made a request to the county, who is on their own timeline, which we also have very little influence on, but from different reports, it is hopeful that we can still get something from the county, but we must make a decision based upon the $6 million that's on the table. So the project team contracted Brentstetter to do a study that we present to you at the board at your meeting at the end of May, I believe, which will give us facts to make a good, educated decision on, and what can and will be possible based upon the community input and the other work that the committee has done. So the consensus on it is that the priorities are youth-centered, youth-focused programming anchored by a preschool that meets the priorities of the school. But we want elements for all age groups of students, from teens to preteens, and so that we can, serve the needs of the whole community. Excuse me. Shared community space to help, to promote the family in the whole community. That meets the needs of the city, but most importantly, workforce development. How do we could do everything to make sure that our kids are developed, but if they go home and there's not two working parents or a working family with income, we know that presents other challenges. So to complete the cradle to career, have adult programming as a part of that. And so those are the priorities of this project that we can see that we can fit within the existing structure. Some other exciting things have happened. We met with Midway Baseball, chaired by Greg Schwarber and Kyle Schwarber, and Midi Football to build a permanent home for Middletown youth sports. Today, both the football team or the baseball team don't have a place to play. Each year they're sort of negotiating and trying to find a place to go. So we met with them and partners like FC Cincinnati, and even got a call from Phil Castellini of the Reds this morning expressing interest in this project. So there are great things in the work, and Sunny Hill becomes the perfect place because you have 15 acres that can be developed and worked with to make your investment go much further. So that would be a great project right there where our sports teams can have a place to go. Another exciting thing, we have a private donor who has committed to turn the existing recreation room, which is not much there, not much right now for kids to be excited about, but invested $25,000 to do a state-of-the-art gaming center with virtual reality, robotics, and other things that can teach the kids. And that's something that can happen right now, but it just feeds into the overall project. And it could show that a little can go a long way, but an investment of this can be magnified. And we're creating an incentive-based program, so if they do well in school or they do community service, they can earn hours in this arcade, and the kids are ecstatic about it. Their faces have lit up, and they're telling me ways that they can earn into the arcade. Maricandri met with 80 Acres, a big sustainable farm company. They want to donate a large hydroponic system to help grow vegetables and teach food science and sustainability, and that's something that can fit within the existing project. So because there's been the commitment and people know that we want to make a difference, other people want to get on board, but they have to know that we're committed and keep the progress going. To stop now would honestly be, it would be fatal to this community, and it would show a lack of commitment. But I know that if all the principles are together, you have the facts, that you need to make a good decision, that I know you will. And that's why this study is very important and will answer a lot of the questions that you might have.
If I just add a few things. Mr. Hightower, could you take a few moments and talk a little bit more about the purpose of the needs assessment, the priorities we're looking for as far as the viability study as well, and what that feedback will provide both the board and council, please? Yeah,
so we want to make sure that the things that we are going to do, we don't get 6 months down the line and you guys are in a bad position where the project is not feasible. So do we do a new build or an addition? Is it a complete renovation? What does that look like versus a complete new build? So we want to look at everything and have the facts on the ground. So what does what we have, what does that get us? And what are the possibilities? And there's a lot of work to do, but at least we have an assessment by professionals to guide our decisions and guide our planning. There's an additional $1 million that has been applied for by the state that is in progress. It's a committee right now in the legislature, and there's a $2 million grant that CBI is currently applying for, a matching fund. So there is more potential funds for this project, but right now we have to make decisions based upon what we had, but there are more potentials for that.
We just pause on that real quick and just want to emphasize the needs assessment or vulnerability study. The architects and the engineers will come in and evaluate the existing structure and provide us with some professional guidance and feedback and assessment about the ability to connect and add new space to the existing structure, given its current infrastructure and the bones of the current campus. That feasibility study will be able to direct us as a committee, not just a board, but a committee made up of community members, city councilmen, as well as board members, but provide us with guidance of whether we should consider adding new space to the existing community center. Even the idea of recommendations, this is the firm speaking as we've had conversation with them about, do we entertain a freestanding brand new building from the ground up and not connect to the campus? So again, that's architects and engineers providing that feedback. That is not anyone on the committee. The decision by the subcommittee to transition this way, please correct me if I'm wrong, just kind of sitting in the room, was to make sure that we had accurate information from those who are experts in the field as it relates to construction, to really guide the committee, board, and council towards making the right decision in regards to additional space, new structure, or considering a different type of idea as it relates to investing in the community. We don't have that answer for you right now. The subcommittee, again, correct me on this timeline if I'm inaccurate, but the subcommittee has asked the firm to expedite the assessment, basically speed up the process versus taking 45 days. Now, we've requested a pretty quick expedited process, but our hope is that between May 5th and May 12th, that those assessments will be back in our hands as a committee, and the committee will be able to share those with both the Board of Education as well as City Council for review, and hopefully the committee will have some dialogue about what they recommend as well. Anything you want to add to that?
Well, Dr. Orso, I believe, has been a part of that process as well. And I believe on Thursday
at 8 in the morning,
we're getting together to start that process. So it has been expedited, and they do understand sort of the benchmarks that, you know, we may not have complete soil and traffic testing, but you'll have an idea of what this type of project can accomplish on the project side.
Let's open up for Q&A. Mr. Birchman, anything you want to add, or Q&A between the boards? Want to invite our committee chair to have a chance to have some dialogue with the board as well.
No, first off, thank you for coming this evening. I know you're busy. I know the committee members are busy too. I know that a lot of time has already been spent on this project. And what I was most excited last week when we met at the community center, the amount of talent, smart folks around the table with the right purpose at heart. And with that, it gives you hope that no matter what happens, good things would happen. I'm excited by the feasibility study. It's an older building, and going through the construction projects in the school district, and over the 6 years that we've been on the board, they're complicated. You don't know what you're always getting into. And I sat on that committee as we revamped and built new spaces. And so I think that'll lead to giving us good information that decisions can be based upon. And have confidence, because I think the firm has worked with our city and has worked with that building and knows it relatively intimately in terms of some of the additions. And I think that firm has done work at our airport too. And so they're an entity that we know, and it gives us confidence that what we find out will be something we can lean on. But I mean, go ahead, Michelle.
I don't know who this question is for, but I know this is a feasibility study for building. My concern is with the legality of putting our preschool spaces in a place that is not owned by Middletown schools. When will we have an answer or some verification on that?
We're currently working with Frost Brown Todd, which is the board's legal, to work through that conversation. Don't have that for you tonight. We have had a conversation, Mr. Birchman and I, about that exact topic as well as a few other topics.
Okay.
Historically, we've had preschool at spaces that we don't own. We have a session or a group at Sunny Hill currently, correct?
Yeah, we currently have a Head Start section at Sunny Hill. We've also had some additional preschool sections at different locations throughout the community.
And I believe we have some members from CBI in the House if they'd like to add to any of that, what you're currently doing programming-wise for the preschool.
No, I think it was just acknowledging that.
Yeah,
It's not without precedence that our preschools have been in spaces that aren't Middletown City School
I
property.
guess I know. I guess I just wonder, you know, how that works.
And that's a big question.
Yeah,
That's the two big questions I think that have been highlighted. One is the building itself and what, like renovation, what would that look like? How would it tie in? Just technical pieces. And the second would be just what kind of agreement and how long would that agreement
Right.
be in principle for if and when this project moves forward
Right.
between the city? Because it is a little bit nuanced in how it's being
It's just
undertaken.
different. It's just, it's a different,
It-
it's a different approach.
I think it's, it is a different, it's a historic, and there's a lot of things that we have to figure out. And I think, I know that from the cities, they've expressed the willingness to sit at the table and figure it out. I don't think anybody is tied to the current arrangement or open to different options to how it is split and maintained. And I think that's a conversation that has
No,
And at the-
begun.
Yeah, I appreciate all the work that's been done, and I do think that it's an important investment in our community. I think there are many things that many people don't know that happen at the community center
Absolutely,
that benefit all of us, but we don't know that.
absolutely.
Just two things on that. The first being, I know after the meeting last week, I think it was on Friday, I spoke to one of the architects. I don't know what his capacity was, but he was explaining Oak Hills is doing a similar type of project that the schools and different entities, the city, were doing something comparable to what would be done there. And the second piece, and I know this is addressing why we're kind of at the table here, is over the summer and just last weekend, seeing Midway Baseball launch and all the good pictures on Twitter and Facebook, and understanding that there's some inertia to give our kids opportunities that for so long have been without, is exciting. I mean, it's been a long time, and we have an opportunity here to really correct that piece. And so it's worth our time. It's been worth our investment to consider these. And it's nice to have a firm to really answer the questions, because you're right, 6 months down the road, we don't want to be asking questions that we should have been asking now.
Correct.
And then we find out budgetarily or just some technical pieces that make it a very hard project to complete. Because that would be the worst thing, is to start something and not be able to finish it adequately.
Trust me, I don't want to be on the front page of the Journal 5 years from now, $200 million over budget. You know, we want to get this done efficiently and properly, and I think that everybody is on the same
That's why-
page. And we have representatives on the committee from the business community, from the social community, from the health community, people who have done projects at this scale that are really helping to tie everything together. So, you know, definitely the right partners are at the table, and it's just a matter of, now that we have that one piece, I think that we can really begin to take off, and that was what we were.
And I don't see Mr. Moon, Councilman Moon, at our meeting today, so I'll speak for him. He's mentioned a couple of different times that the city was considering a recreation director for the city.
Okay.
He said no promises, but I promised him that every opportunity I have, I'm going to plug that position to put some pressure on it, because I do think having the manpower, the people in places to kind of do that work is sorely needed. It gives structure to, and a sustainability piece to it, that it's not just going to float
Well, and
rudderless.
I do agree with the vision that if something happens, then more happens, then people are willing to take a risk and do more. So I appreciate that outlook too.
I know that our next step will be to hear from the committee or the professionals who are evaluating the possibilities. Does it matter in the timeline? Does one accommodate the timeline better than the other when we think of renovating or adding?
Those are going to be questions that will be answered through that process. But so they will answer that as part of their study. I don't know.
So right now, we don't have any idea which
Right now,
one
we don't have
accommodates.
not a concrete
Okay.
answer.
Just to give the board
Is that
confidence.
feasibility study, is that geared only toward whether the Robert Sunny Hill Community Center is the appropriate place for it or not, or will they be looking at other sites for possibilities?
The scope of this is to assess the feasibility of the 800 Lafayette, where the current property is.
Okay. Because I know typically when schools have built community centers or community learning centers, it was based on school buildings that were not filled and then repurposing that space. So it's kind of unusual for a school to invest in a building that, you know, is off campus and is not something that they own. So I definitely want to hear more information about that. And I guess that's part of what we'll learn from this feasibility study, and this groundwork that we want to invest in right now. I think when you went through the timeline of how things transpired, now there wasn't anybody from the school board that was initially involved in those conversations in April. Like, we were looped in around August when we were asked to approve, I think we were first introduced to it and asked to approve a $4 million commitment to leverage county funds for $6 million. I don't know if it was understood by the board that that commitment was whether we got those county funds or not. And I don't know if that's still a question for my colleagues or not. So can you speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, I'm happy to share that perspective coming from the superintendent chair. I think it's more of kind of current state of reality. We co-presented back in October of 2021. To use a term our students use often, it's been crickets from our Butler County commissioners. We made a number of attempts to reach out to them, to meet with them individually, to really promote the excitement in the city of Middletown around this project, only to continue to get crickets. I got a pocket full of crickets right now from our county commissioners on this project. I think out of respect for Middletown, it would be nice if we got some type of feedback from them to have an idea of kind of the state of their potential budgets. I know Cindy Carpenter has publicized her draft budget for the ARPA funds that the county has received. It was listed in a journal article. It does clearly state community centers. It's roughly about $8 million that she publicly put in there, but the other two commissioners we haven't heard anything from. Take past timelines out, the reality currently is, and I think this is the passion that I've observed from the committee, is there is an opportunity to invest with the ESSER funds from the district and the ARPA funds from the city, with $6 million on the table currently to really dig into this initial phase for the community center. The potential, if our county commissioners do come through with one additional dollar or the full $6 million ask, is the ability with our architects to scale the dream of what we'd like to do for a larger campus and a facility at that location. I know we're just as frustrated with the last 6 months of not hearing from our county commissioners, but reality, as our committee chair did express, I mean, there's an opportunity to invest something into the community center. So we're trying to stay engaged with current reality while we're continuing to advocate with our county commissioners, hopefully, to really catch the spirit and get really energized about the potential of this project, just like everyone on the committee, the community, and council and the board are.
And I believe that, so the step of taking the time to do the study, and we should have done that 6 months ago, but here we are today. So that study will do two things. If it comes back and it says there's no way that $6 million is going to get a valuable project, we're all are able to understand the facts and accept facts and get on board to the next step. So that would open up and give this body enough time to make other decisions. So you and not risk losing those funds. But the other thing that the study will allow us to do, one of the commissioners said, there's not enough plans, and that was a general context statement of all the plans that were submitted to them. There was about 100 different projects that were submitted to the county. if we have a plan that comes from this study, we are now in a better position to go petition the county and petition the state and the grants that we have. So this is leveraging, I think this is going to leapfrog us to where we are now. And just if we have the continued support to go out and say, and at the last meeting, those who attended, there was a commitment to say, let's go forward with a $6 million project. Because we kind of had our handcuffs and to be able to say, there is some good that we can do with $6 million. There's some good that we can do with $25,000. There's some good we can do with $3 million. So let's do the most good that we can with what we have right now.
And just for more clarity, my understanding is that the schools we committed $4 million, but $2 million of that was specifically earmarked toward a preschool program. And then $2 million is for more generally the community center.
And the preschool is definitely a priority, and whatever portion of the school's funds to make sure that we have the high quality preschool that will be committed and considered.
If I could just provide some clarity around the board's $4 million allocation. Our priorities with that $4 million allocation was preschool space, and we wanted to explore the opportunity to have some additional youth space as part of the new addition at the community center. So we didn't have a specific amount allocated for individual topics, just a general $4 million allocation for those two priorities.
Yeah, and just to speak to that, I know within the meetings, the last few meetings, preschool is a priority. I know that Mr. Stiles, myself, articulate that our investment is to solve a problem around preschool while also trying to create opportunities for our youth in other capacities. The priority there being our investment in preschool and making sure that that whatever is done, we're able to satisfy the space that we're going to need now and then hopefully within the future to be able to service as many kids as we possibly can. And so whatever that costs within that $4 million would be what would be expected within this project.
That's clear. And I think thinking multi-purpose, multi-function, multi-use, there's certain spaces that, if it's dedicated lockdown for the preschool, that's accepted, but there's things that can be used for, one of the comments that Brent Stetter said was that preschools aren't classrooms anymore. Preschools are open areas that allow for sensory development and all kinds of things. So there's things that we can do with space that we shouldn't just confine ourselves to some of the traditional things that we think of when building schools.
Also bring some excitement to this topic. I know we've gotten into some technical things, so hopefully you've got the information that we needed, our community as well, around the progress the committee has made. Mr. Hightower, thank you for being the chair. Ms. Novak being the co-chair of the committee as well. But the committee's been hard at work, and some members are present here tonight. A lot of energy amongst the committee itself, but I think we're starting to see the community is getting just as energized as we are about getting this project up and running and really taking off. The technical aspect of tonight is we collectively, consensus in the group, feel the right decision for council, board, community, and committee is to do the feasibility study. It's no different than we did on our current properties. That'll help us inform our decision. Our target is to have that assessment in our hands between May 5th, which is a Thursday, and May 12th, which is the following Thursday, to hopefully have available for the board if we're able to expedite it for the upcoming May 9th Board of Education meeting. I'm sure council would entertain that assessment as well. Let's just keep the positive excitement around thinking about the positive outcome of the feasibility study. That way we can stay energized about the opportunity we have in front of us to really support the bigger vision of the committee, which is not just preschool space, but the potential to truly do some really special things, like Ms. Phillips said, for not just the youth, but for our families, every Middletonian. At a historic location in the city. So, Mr. Hightower, appreciate you being here tonight. Really appreciate the committee members are present as well. Your support means an awful lot. Again, just want to provide our board with updates about the status of the project itself and how it's really starting to shake out and put us in a position moving forward.
And I would just like to thank you, Mr. Stiles, and the board here for listening to this important project. I'd like to thank, there's about a dozen organizations represented in the audience tonight that have been working tirelessly for and on behalf of our youth and community, you know, many times without thank you, but thank you all for the bottom of my heart. And we will continue to work every single day to make sure that our youth and our families have the best that they deserve. Thank you.
$6 million is a big number, and hopefully the commissioners understand our interest, our need for this, and that $6 million becomes even bigger. I think it's interesting that like $6 million within this context just seems like, man, that's not very much, but it does feel like we could do a lot of neat things with that. So, moving on. Ready to move on, Mr. Bertram? That brings us to tonight's consent agenda. Is there a motion for approval?
So move.
And a second, please?
Second.
Thank you. Any questions? I noticed we have some generous donations listed. Mr. Bertram, would you like to report on those?
I would be happy to. We have a $250 donation for our Midi Olympics, which is coming up here in May. And that is from Top Choice Mortgage, Shay Hensley. Thank you very much. And then we have a $2,000 donation from Precision Strip of Middletown to Highview 6th Grade Center. Thank you very much to them.
Yes. As you guys review the consent agenda, anything, any questions regarding anything within?
Just a little clarification on the universal transportation services. Can you explain that a little bit?
Yes, I'll be a little general here
Right.
in terms,
Right.
not to single out, but it is related to a student athlete in our district who is participating in spring extracurriculars.
Okay.
It'll provide us the opportunity to provide that student with transportation to and from so they can enjoy the experience.
Okay. That's those little UTI transportation things I've seen around. Okay.
I'll pause a second. Are we ready for a vote? Mr. Bertram?
Mrs. Scheibert?
Yes.
Ms. Novak?
Yes.
Mr. Moore?
Yes.
Mrs. Mulligan?
Yes.
Dr. Urso?
Yes.
I'd take one moment to jump in and just have a little fun. We've got two brand new administrative appointments tonight that I'd like to just celebrate and invite to the microphone, give the board a chance to interact. I think this is a package deal from the way it looks down the hallway. But I would like to introduce Ms. Susanna Davis, who will be our new Senior Director of Student Services here at Central Office. As you know, Dana Miller will be retiring. Ms. Davis is coming to us with very impressive leadership credentials. We're thrilled to have her on board. She brings a skill set that we definitely are welcoming here in the district, and know we're honored to have her accept the position. We're going to give her the microphone here in just a few moments to share a few words, but also want to bring up the current principal at Rosa Parks Elementary, Ms. Tracy Neely. She'll be transitioning into a new central office position. She'll be the new program curriculum coordinator in the teaching and learning department under Assistant Superintendent Deb Hauser, who's with us in the back. Thrilled to have these two elite leaders here with us to share a few thoughts tonight, and definitely want to say congratulations and give the board a chance to greet them as well.
Thank you. Dr. Urso, members of the board, Mr. Stiles, and Mr. Bertram, I am truly honored to be here tonight to join this team. Middletown City Schools is leading an educational renaissance, and the passion of the staff, the amplification of student voice, the dedication of this Board of Education, support of an outstanding community, and innovative vision of the leadership team is evident in the outstanding opportunities that have been provided for all students. I am struck by the deep commitment to equity, empowering and supporting every student to realize their dream, and supporting every student to find their path. Hashtag Midi Rising is clearly more than just a hashtag. It encapsulates the true belief that Middletown is a school district of choice. I look forward to building relationships with staff, students, and community members in the coming weeks as I learn more about the fiber that is this outstanding community. And finally, I would be remiss if I didn't take a moment to thank my husband, Joe, an educator in Cincinnati Public Schools, and my son, William, for joining me tonight. I am truly blessed to have their love and constant support, and our entire family looks forward to joining the Middletown community. Thank you again for this opportunity.
Oh, welcome. You look nice in purple.
Thank you.
I know that a neighboring district is losing and we're winning on this arrangement. And so thank you so much, and we're excited to have you.
Great. Thank you again.
Thanks.
My turn. You guys know how much I love public speaking. Hi, welcome. And I just want to start by saying thank you. So I joined Middletown 26 years ago as a student teacher. And ever since then, you guys have just allowed me to grow and given me all the opportunities in the world. And I could not be more grateful. So thank you for that. I am so very much excited for the new opportunity to join a very dynamic curriculum department that we already have going. The decision for me to leave Rosa, however, did not come lightly to me, and I'm a little heart-struck by it all, and it's still a very bittersweet decision. We have an amazing staff at Rosa who has embraced me as a leader over the years. Truly every day that I've spent there, even through the pandemic and a construction project of all things, it has filled my days with joy, and I could not be more proud of that staff, their energy, their excitement, and I hope to carry that over with me up to the central office and my new role at curriculum. So thank you for the opportunity. I could not be happier to continue and finish my career here in Middletown.
Well, thank you. Just quick out of there. You're- Is it? Oh, there you go. On the agenda, the next item is under Human Resources. It's a Personnel Agenda B. Is there a motion for approval?
So moved.
In a second?
Second.
Thank you. Anybody need clarification regarding? All right, then Mr. Bertram.
Ms. Novak,
Yes.
Mrs. Mulligan,
Yes.
Dr. Urso,
Abstain?
Mr. Moore,
Yes.
Mrs. Scheibert.
Yes.
Under Curriculum and Innovation, we have a few items, the first being an MOU between ODE and Middletown High School. Is there a motion for approval?
So moved.
In a second?
Second.
All right. Mr. Stiles, can you?
In December, the board did approve our program of studies for Middletown High School, which included some new course for quantitative mathematics. As you know, the Ohio Department of Education came out with some new Algebra 2 graduation requirements, and we aligned ourselves very quickly under Ms. Hauser's leadership to be in alignment with the new graduation requirements with that course. What you see here is an agreement between us and the Ohio Department of Education to keep ourselves aligned with some of the content that they have pushed out. If you notice, this is a simple name change. The same program of studies, course description still exists, as well as the content we've got planned for the course. So just an update to keep us aligned with the state.
Any questions? Mr. Bertram?
Mrs. Mulligan,
Yes.
Dr. Urso.
Yes.
Mr. Moore,
Yes.
Mrs. Scheibert,
Yes.
Ms. Novak.
Yes.
The second item under Curriculum and Innovation is an MOU between Miami University and Middletown High School for interactive media studies. Is there a motion for approval?
So moved.
Second.
Thanks.
As you know, Middletown High School has an esports program that is thriving. State runners-up in the fall with Fortnite, just for the record to give those kids a shout-out. We have entered into an agreement with Miami University for College Credit Plus courses as part of that experience. It's a course during the school day. We entered into this agreement several years ago. This is just a renewal of that partnership. Very honored that Miami continues to support our efforts in this endeavor. The kids are absolutely thriving.
Questions? Mr. Bertram?
Dr. Urso,
Yes.
Mr. Moore,
Yes.
Mrs. Scheibert,
Yes.
Ms. Novak,
Yes.
Mrs. Mulligan.
Yes.
Yeah, express our appreciation to Miami for those efforts. Under Business, another MOU. It's an MOU authorizing membership in the Ohio Purchasing Council of Governments. Is there a motion for approval?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Mulligan. Mr. Bertram, would you like to clarify, or Mr. Stiles clarify this?
Yeah, this Council of Government just gives us another tool, our business office, Mr. Sotzing, another tool to be able to use It allows us to go out and solicit bids from the Council of Governments, and they go out then and do all the bidding for us on our behalf. So it is a tool for us to not have to go out and get 3, 4 quotes and, coming into the district, but to use the Council of Governments to do that on our behalf.
Thank you. Any follow-up questions? Then Mr. Bertram.
Mr. Moore,
Yes.
Mrs. Schreiber,
Yes.
Ms. Novak,
Yes.
Mrs. Mulligan,
Yes.
Dr. Urso.
Yes. Again, under business, appears to be a contract with Prodigy Building Solutions for chillers. Is there a motion for approval?
So moved.
In a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Moore. It's hard tonight, a lot of things to approve. Mr. Bertram, again, would you like to provide any insight on this?
Yes, this is a project that Mr. Sotzing put together to replace 3 chillers, and I know Mayfield's one of them. Do you have them up, Marlon? But 3 of our buildings, the chillers are getting old. They're down to less than 5% of remaining life on these. And Mr. Sotzing's taking the advantage of getting them done sooner than later, especially with cost prices going up. Not anymore in a 3-month period, but they are now going up in less than a month. Sometimes they'll guarantee a contract for a week. So we're going to take advantage of that while it gets good. And he did go out and solicit 3 bids on each of these next 2 projects individually.
My question is in regards to the funding of these chillers, then also the roofing underneath. Will this be coming out of our ESSER fund, or will this be coming out of PI?
We're going to start the projects using the PI funds, hold the ESSER for the time being. But if we get down to any time we want to transfer those funds to the ESSER, we have the ability to do that.
All right.
Just clarify, the projects for the chillers will be at Amanda Elementary, Central Academy, and Mayfield Elementary.
Thank you.
Randy, is this something that's included in the master plan that was put together?
We
And
do.
is that being updated?
Yeah, we do have all the chillers in there. Might not be in this order. Eric is still working on his piece of that master program, but chillers were in the initial program.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, good question.
Understanding that one of our newer elementary buildings is receiving new chillers, can we expect over the next 5 years to replace the rest of those?
Yes. Very likely. Yes.
Any other questions regarding chillers?
Nope.
Mr. Bertram.
Anita?
Yes.
Michelle? I'm going careful here. Kathy?
Different approach.
Chris?
You catch me off guard. Yes.
And Mr. Moore?
Yes.
Yeah, he's wearing a tie tonight.
Yeah.
The next item up for approval, again with Prodigy Building Solutions. It's a contract for roofing. Is there a motion for approval?
So moved.
Do I need to ask?
Second.
Thank you. Can you explain which buildings are up for roofing repair?
This particular one is for Highview 6th grade center. There are 2 sections at Highview that'll be taken care of, as well as Rosa Parks Elementary as part of this contract with a 20-year warranty for the work.
And obviously, it's not on the new section of Rosa Parks.
Let's hope not. And again, the same question asked around chillers. Are we going to be replacing roofs? Because those buildings aren't 20 years old.
I will tell you, I don't know the particular details, but we are getting some warranty coverage out of these that we have to replace now.
That was going to be my follow-up question. If
Yeah.
these have 20-year warranties, do the initial roof have a 20-year warranty?
Yes, I believe all our roofs did have 20-year warranties.
Okay.
Good question.
I'd like to also request, in regards to the master plan, maybe we plan an annual meeting where we can go through like what we can anticipate for the upcoming year. And I know things come up and things can change, but just to help us to become more familiar with that document, I would appreciate that.
All right, thank you.
There are no questions, and Mr. Bertram?
Ms. Novak,
Yes.
Mrs. Mulligan,
Yes.
Dr. Urso,
Yes.
Todd,
Yes.
Mrs. Scheibert.
Yes.
We're all even.
All right, under finance, there's, appears one contract. It's a Burn Along License and Service Agreement. Is there a motion for approval?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you.
I'll
Mr.
be
Bertram?
happy to explain this
Yes.
contract, and I did get it on late, my apologies for that. This is, our wellness has taken a break for the last 2 years. Obviously, it's been hard to put a wellness program together when we couldn't come together to do these sorts of things. But ironically, while one of my wellness committee members, Shannon O'Connell, was working from home from a surgery that she had, she was looking into opportunities for us, and she found this company called Burn Along. Burn Along is, I'm sort of like feeling like Marlon, that we're bringing technology to the forefront. And it is a company that has, 18,000 different types of classes you could take via your cell phone, via your television, via your computer, your iPad. And you can even take wellness classes or exercise classes with your dog. It's pretty interesting. And what I liked about it is it goes a lot deeper than just finding classes and activities that you can do to help with your wellness, which you can do anywhere, anytime, any place. No one has an excuse now. When we worked with Fitbit, for all of us that had Fitbits, it was great, but those that had the Google devices, they didn't match, and those that didn't have any devices. This is good for anybody that has internet access anywhere, anytime. It goes a lot deeper. I asked particularly about diabetes. What do they have on the ends for people that have diabetes and they're trying to work through their wellness? And they work with the Diabetes Association, and they have programming that's established through that association that is very detailed and very dynamic. And they have a lot of other things they mentioned, but I'm not good with medical terms. So, but one of the unique aspects of this, we all know that people that do exercise, they have their cliques. Either they work alone or they have their group of people they like to work with. I'm happy to announce with this contract, not only are our employees that are active with our health plan, Butler Health Plan, but all of our employees, including our Peterman employees, including our Sodexo employees, and even if we have some Butler Tech employees in-house, we can include them as well. They each have a membership to this, as long as they're an active employee with us, and our 5 board members. And they get 4 additional people that can join their network. So if you've got family members, you've got friends, it's quite amazing that you're going to be able to put your groups together. And they also have challenges, as we used to do with the Fitbit program, very big activities we did out in the building, and Central always killed us. They're going to get their opportunity again, because they have some really heavy-duty, fit people over at Central. But it's a great program. I'm very excited about it, and it's all through technology. It's at the forefront of this, and we've got a 1-year contract with this, and I'm just happy that we're going to be introducing it, rolling it out tomorrow, and letting employees know all about it upon board's approval, of course, and get this implemented before the summer begins, so people will be acclimated to it and hopefully be able to use it all summer long.
Will we evaluate the usage? How many employees use it? and how
Absolutely.
frequent?
They've got all the analytics behind it. Great platform out there, very strong. They have a lot of major sponsors that use this program as well. A lot of large employers throughout the country.
So is it an app that you'd load to your phone?
And it's just, yeah, it's an app you download, then you go out, you pick your classes, you can invite other people that are part of the Burn Along team to join. They have different instructors throughout the country. You can pick your favorite instructor for yoga, your favorite instructor for learning to run for a 5K race. It's just very, very easy for anybody to use anywhere, anytime, and there is so much involved in it. I couldn't believe all the activities that you could do. There's things in there. I never thought you could exercise with your dog, but you can. They even have ones with goats if you're into farming, I guess, so. I guess there's a thing called a yoga goat with goats or something, I don't know. But anyhow, it's very neat, I'm very excited about it, and I'm very happy that Shannon was able to find this and bring it to our attention.
Thank you. Any questions from the board? If there are none, then Mr. Bertram.
Mrs. Mulligan?
What do we, is this where? what?
For the contract for
For the
the
Bertram.
Yes,
Bertram.
of course, yes.
Dr. Urso?
Yes.
Mr. Moore?
Yes.
Mrs. Scheibert?
Yes.
Ms. Novak?
Yes.
Thank you.
That brings us to district committee reports. I'll turn it over to our superintendent, Mr. Stiles, to start that conversation.
Thank you, Dr. So just to repeat, I know we're trying to get into habits. We've got a legal brief for us in regards to superintendent committees, that we start with the feedback of the superintendent treasurer first, and then invite comments just to keep us in alignment with the legal counsel that we received in regards to committee work. So this is going to start with our superintendent committees. I do know we have a policy committee on the schedule that is set for next week. If you recall, we are working with our policy provider to take a look at all of our policies. When I say all, I mean all. So Ms. Scheibert and Ms. Mulligan will have the joy of sitting with us to dig through those. So we'll be going through updates as time goes on. So this is the kickoff to what the board agreed to do back in the fall. Our District Improvement Leadership Committee will be meeting here in early May to close out the school year. Our focus is on our CCIP to make sure we're aligned and start getting the content in the system so that we can work towards our substantially approved date for our title funding. I know from a treasurer standpoint, it's nice to have this substantially approved date ready to go. So it's a critical district leadership team meeting that's coming up. We won't dig too much into district data and things of that nature. This is about preparing ourselves for all things CCIP. We did some work with our principals here recently in our April meeting, so we're looking forward to digging into that. So that's a big piece there. And outside of that, I welcome any comments from any board member who sits on any of the superintendent committees for discussion. I believe that's how we're supposed to align, if I'm correct.
Hey.
Feels weird saying that, but I'm trying to stick to what our legal.
Yeah.
We'll wait for the board docs to start rolling in, or policy docs.
And we'll say I tentatively set that meeting for May 5th. We do have a Butler Tech All Boards meeting. That is that evening at 5:30. And if we, look, Michelle's smiling, she's going to bring it up, I know. And if we feel we're going to have a quorum there, it's something that I'll probably need to announce as well, that we'll be participating in that as a board. So I kind of need a head count who plans to attend. If you let me know by the end of the week, that'd be fine.
Any other comments, statements? All right.
I just have a related question. For this, the burn along, will we be doing this every year? Will we be re-upping every year for access to that?
Well, that's a great question. We're going to start the program out just here in Middletown. And as you know, I'm a board member for Butler Health Plan and OHI, which is a large parent of Butler Health Plan. And it's something that if we find early success in this program, I'm also going to present it to the Butler Health Plan to see if that's something that we'd want to do as a consortium as a whole, and maybe negotiate pricing on it. It's kind of pricey just for a district like ours.
Right.
Fortunately, we have not used our funds in the last 2 years, so we're able to run this. We could run it 2 years, but that third year we'd definitely run into a little money issue most likely, unless the consortium stepped up on helping with their wellness funds that they dedicate to each district. But I'm hoping it's going to be a success, and it's something that can be bigger, and the consortium will buy into.
We'll try it as long as we have the money. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, then that brings us to Board of Education reports. Ms. Novak, would you like to begin?
Yeah, sure. Well, I do want to report that there was a Butler Tech meeting last week, and everybody's getting ready and prepared for the graduation. The Butler Tech graduation is going to be on Monday, May 16th. And then the Ohio School Board Association Black Caucus met last Saturday, and there were presenters there that gave an update on the voucher lawsuit that, forget how many districts, but I think at least 40 districts are bringing against the state, that the vouchers, what they said is that this is a challenge to the state constitution, and that they feel like they have a really good case for it. There was also somebody from a school district that that presented on how vouchers has impacted their district in regards to introducing segregation into their schools and their community. So they initially had 25% Caucasian students and 75% African American students at their school. And then after the vouchers were introduced, they now have 2% Caucasian students in their school. And that is another one of the challenges that is being brought up in regards to that case. So that's all I have to report. Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle. Mr. Moore, anything to report tonight?
No comments tonight.
No comments tonight. Ms. Schreiber?
No, nothing tonight. Thank
Nothing?
you.
All right. Cruising right through this, Ms. Mulligan?
Well, I hope that Michelle will give her report again next time when I can actually understand what she's saying. I found it very difficult to hear what she was talking about. So maybe, Michelle, if you could give that next time, maybe in person. I know it's...
Okay. Is the sound not good? I'm sorry.
It's
Right.
okay. It's better than the usual.
There's an issue with the sound. Okay. All right. And I have a cold tonight too, so I can't even hear myself.
I think she's just further away from you also.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Well, and the other thing is, this business about Central Academy. I don't think I have a clear picture in my mind as to what exactly was the former protocol there. What was the former way, modus operandi there? For instance, the multi-age classrooms, or multi-age instruction. I'm confused as to whether children were together like 8th graders and 1st graders, or is it a matter of children having the same teacher for 2 years, and does that teacher have half 1st graders and half 2nd graders? Looping, is it exactly what, in my understanding, looping is a teacher has the same group of kids for 2 consecutive years, but they're all in the same grade. Well, it's not a combination of 1st and 2nd graders,
They loop with multi-age, and so you would have,
half and half.
yeah.
Okay.
So you would have half a new class, kind of, and that same portion, that cohort would stay with
Okay.
you.
Okay. And so you have the same, a child starts in 1st grade, has a given teacher.
Mhm.
That child stays with the teacher for 2nd grade.
And there's youngers and olders within that same classroom.
Okay. Well, and it's not that way anymore?
It's in transition, and Mr. Stiles can speak to it, too.
And I just, is this a deliberate or a conscious change, or is it a matter of teachers not being comfortable with the multi-age? It was mentioned that there's been very little PD on that. Or is it something that's just kind of evolved to what it is now with the differences, or was it consciously changed for a reason? I had a letter from an email from somebody, and I really couldn't address it because it's not clear to me what was intended in the first place or what exactly went on in the first place and how that is changed.
I'll share just some quick comments. If you recall, back in April of 2021, there were Mr. Grubenhoff, principal at Central Academy, along with a staff member, and some of parents presented here almost a year ago to date.
Yeah, that's right.
About the new exciting changes. I know the board was very excited that night about the transformation. I think that is still on our website where you can access that recording because it was live streamed at the time. Again, that was April of 2021. The same exciting things we heard that night are what are in place right now, and the kids have been enjoying throughout the year. But if you're interested in digging in a little bit deeper, I'd be happy to schedule time to meet with you to discuss it.
I think it would be beneficial to have another updated presentation at one of our board meetings on, what the plan is at Central, because that was a year ago. And I think that it was brought up at a more recent meeting that we are putting on hold the grade banding, or not the grade banding, but putting the multi-age possibly on hold for 1 year in an attempt to just really focus on getting our students back up to speed. I think that I'm a little bit confused as well on what the plan is right now. So if we could just have like a board update, I think it would be beneficial to all of us.
But the multi-age then is just really a difference of 1 grade, one year of school. It's not like 8th graders are with 4th graders, right? It's just when you're in first grade, you're with second graders.
And so when it had middle school was together, but once they contracted middle school, which was around 6-7 years ago, I think kindergarten's isolated, then 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th were multi-age, and they looped within them. But if you're asking, like, 6th graders would come down and help out kindergartners and 1st graders at time.
But that's separate from being a multi-age classroom.
Correct, yeah.
And
It was
a
just
classroom has kids within a span of 2 years. Okay.
correct,
Okay.
traditionally, yes. There could have been isolated experiences where a student was accelerated. I can't come to think of any student offhand, though.
If I could just make a quick comment on, I agree with Michelle on this comment. As I listened to some of the comments this evening, I do believe that there's a lot of misunderstanding in terms of whether or not the board or the district has changed the model and what that means. And as all of us have gotten emails over the last weekend, I believe the more clarity that we can bring to this question, I don't think it's going away. I know I've tried to ask some questions and just work our way through the process, and certainly I want to follow up with folks who sent, an email to us, but I was struck by the comments from the professor from Miami. It got my attention because, again, this perception that we as a board have changed the model at Central Academy, whether it's multi-age or going to Kathy's question about whether it's looping or in how we've done that. And again, just asking that I think the more that we can do to address that in a future meeting, the better. Because I think this is going to continue. We're going to continue as board members to get questions from the community. I think we do need some clarity on what our intentions are at Central and what changes are being made or potential changes have been made at Central, if we could just clarify that in some way.
So my turn?
Yes,
Well, before you go, President,
It's not my turn.
Presidente, some of the comments that I heard also, I see behaviors, I would like clarification on this too, exactly what's going on. But I see these behaviors in other places that we visited too, that some of the characteristics that are being praised of children are happening in some of our other buildings now. So I'm feeling that the things that were maybe not only available but predominantly visible at Central Academy are happening now in other places, particularly when the lady from Miami spoke about children owning their building or children feeling that this is theirs. I get that feeling more and more. I think it's been an effort across the district to put some of these more positive behaviors in all the schools too. So I don't want people to think that these characteristics and these wonderful things that come out of Central Academy are just uniquely from Central Academy, because I do feel like many of the teachers in our district, many of the leaders in our district are aiming for the same thing too. But I also would like clarification. But I just felt I had to say that because sometimes when people get up and speak in favor of one place, it makes me feel like, well, I see that other places too. And I want people to understand that, yes, we have children owning their own building. I mean, I saw this at Amanda when we went there. I saw this at Rosa Parks when we went there. I see it at the high school and the middle school when we've been there too. And the other buildings I'm sure are too, we just haven't been there, recently. So I would like clarification about what is going on at Central, but I also want the understanding that I think we've upped the game across the boards here, in all of our buildings. Now, El Presidente.
Just a couple pieces, and I would like to also speak on Central Academy. Yesterday, I believe, was the Hope Walk. Was that yesterday, Mr. Stiles? Saturday night. Unfortunately, my daughter, I opened up her book bag, and the flyer was in there, and I missed it. But I did see images of where it was a success, and it was a well-attended event. Our spring athletes, our softball team, I know it's been a rough spring with weather. It's been brutal being able to get games in. But the other day I was over at Lefferson, and all 4 fields at Lefferson had kids playing on them. They had middle school, I think it was softball, and the 2 teams, I think it was Princeton against Middletown, and the score was like 27-25, which was, a lot of cheering happening on that field. And our baseball team, I know they've run against a lot of really good teams in the spring, and they recently beat the number 4 team in the state, Mason. Mason has a guy who just throws it. 94, I think, is what he throws it. And the Middletown team, I think Logan Patrick, a senior, hit a grand slam to take the lead, and they end up holding on, so I'd like to congratulate them. Our tennis team has been out there and having fun, and I know they're having success. And our track team at the Bellbrook Invitation brought home some hardware and did really well there too. And just quickly, I know I get all these the athletes of the week. And for this week, Mary Fletcher, a junior softball player, hit 3 home runs last weekend. I'd like to congratulate Mary. Sean Smith is a junior volleyball player, is ranked in the top 15 in kills with 59. I'm not a volleyball person. It always hurt my arms, but I'm sure that's a very good statistic, and congratulate Sean. Brianna Boyle, a sophomore, she was a part of a key member of the co-ed 4x400 meter relay that set the new meet record at Bellbrook. Sophomore track star Josh Carter had a good track meet at Bellbrook, and Daylon Moore Simpson, a senior track member, also did really well. And I know there are prior weeks. It's been 3 weeks since we've had a board meeting, and I apologize to all the young people who I missed the last couple of weeks, but want to congratulate them. Did get a nice email from the junior who had emailed me before about AP Chemistry. I gave him my word that I would ask the question tonight and hopefully see if there's any movement in regards to if AP Chemistry will be an offering for our seniors next year or juniors who are eligible for it. And so, Mr. Stiles, I won't expect an answer, but just know that I'm going to keep getting emails, and then I'm going to pass on those emails to you in the hope that we can solve that question and that concern for him. And lastly, just like my colleagues had indicated, it was neat seeing Izzy. Izzy is the same age as my son Evan and grew up with Evan. And to see her today, the last time I saw her, she was in 5th grade, 6th grade. And so it's been some time. And just to see the young person that she's evolved into, the composure, and how thoughtful she was at organizing her thoughts was impressive. And I can speak, I know Ms. Scheiber and others have, I'm in Middletown predominantly. I chose to live here because of Central Academy, what it was probably a few years ago. It went through a period of transition over the years with leadership. I know there was a period, and it's part of the reason why I ran for the Board of Education, because some of the decision-making process at a time that those changes were happening They contracted middle school, which I thought was a value add for our community, propelled me into running. And to sit here and to listen to the concerns has forced me to kind of self-reflect and be introspective in regards to the new iteration. And my wife and I, it was last year, we participated in the discussion with the Principal Grubenhoff, and there was only a few number of people who were able to participate. So I think it didn't fully capture, and that's what I'm curious, is that a lot of folks who are speaking are folks that knew what it once was, the 2012 version, and not maybe the current families that currently attend there. And so I too would be curious to see, because it was a drawing point for my family. It was like a public Montessori. I don't know, it might be unique in the idea that for young folks it's more about process than outcomes, and they don't grade, and so that was an attractor for me and my family, my wife and I. Combined, the multi-age probably wasn't the biggest piece for me, but it was something that my kids seemed to benefit. It allowed them to, if they were able to, accelerate in certain areas, and in other areas where they weren't ready to accelerate, were able to stay at their grade level. There was value there if done well. The general feel of the building, the idea of having kids be empowered. They used to have a celebration of learning event that's kind of gone to the background, where kids would come and report their work and do some things that allowed them to have a little bit more student voice. Was a powerful thing. The hands-on tactile kind of thing was drifting away when my kids entered that building. I don't know if I was looking at homes now, would Central Academy be an attractor for me to move to Middletown as it once was. And I don't know how to pinpoint the reason as to, I know there were some probably leadership pieces at that building that weren't great fits over time, but we are here now. And I think the people who have speak to what it was and what it could be. It's just, would like to kind of have an open conversation as to what that all means. And I do appreciate the correspondence. I have responded to, and I didn't attach each of you to them because I was more speaking out of my perspective and didn't want to assume that you feel and think the same way that I do. But each of the emails, minus I think I got 2 that I haven't responded to yet, that I responded to let them know that the board does listen and does respond to those concerns. And so that'll conclude my, Mr. Stiles.
I was reminded today that we have graduation 3 weeks from tomorrow. Hard to believe that it is here already. Yep, Anita, that's right. Tuesday, May 17th, correct? With that said, earlier in the meeting, listening to Stephen and looking at, listening to the timeline coming up for the feasibility study, I know we're hoping to get it back by May 5th, so you have time to review it, look at it. We think we'll have the legal piece as far as something between the city and the district together between the attorneys about the same time. I got a little concerned when I heard if they're not done the 5th, they could be as late as, would you say, the 15th? 12th. With that being said, that's the following Tuesday. Would there be interest in putting a secondary date out there to move the 9th meeting to either later in the week or to the 16th in the event we don't have the information for you to make a good decision on the 9th?
Makes sense to
That'd be
me.
a good idea.
Because your time is of the essence.
Yeah.
Definitely.
How far in advance do you have to make that?
Well, we could do it within 24 hours. I'd say if we make it by Thursday the 5th, if we know we're not going to have the stuff back, that should give the public enough notice. But I'd probably need some dates, what would work. If you just want to make it the following Monday, 16th, or if you want to do it later in the week. Well, I'd say let's go the 16th, just because the 12th is a Thursday. If we got it as late as the 12th, they wouldn't give you time anyhow. Probably
Well,
don't
just a
want to-
reminder, that's the Butler Tech graduation.
Yes, the 12th, right?
The 16th.
Oh,
is the
16th.
Butler Tech
Oh, yes, it
graduation.
is. I even wrote that down, Michelle. Thank you.
Mr. Bertram, as we pick these dates, prior to us getting together, will we also have time to review legal opinion in
Yeah.
terms of ownership, et cetera? Okay,
Yeah,
thank you.
yeah, at least the principles, the guiding principles
Okay.
that they're working on.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and we think you'll probably have those by the 5th, but it's the feasibility study that I'm worried about. So then do we look at the 17th is our graduation. Do we call a special meeting on the Saturday before?
We could do a different day. It doesn't have to be on Monday, doesn't it? Or do we need to meet on a Monday?
No, I mean, it's whatever works for the
For a
board.
special occasion, I think we could probably accommodate a different date or a different day during the week, given the circumstances. I mean, will we have a better idea when a best-case scenario on their feasibility study? Because it would be nice to have at least 24 to 48 hours to review that document before coming in cold.
Yeah, if we get as late as the 12th, obviously that puts us into our 2 graduations and a date after that. And that's pushing us out there.
I know this Thursday at 8 in the morning, like Stephen had indicated, we meet, and at that meeting, that was going to be one of my questions was, what does, from them, the timeline look like?
Okay, how about you guys push, see how soon we can get it, and we'll just keep it open for now, let everyone know that it could be moved in the event we can't get it done by then. Yeah,
That's fair.
We'll work on a date after that, just so we have that flexibility. And then we also mentioned possibly moving the meeting on the 23rd to the 31st in the event that we have to go to Plan B to give
And
Mr.
that's Memorial
Sosnick
Day?
additional time.
That's a federal
Memorial
holiday.
Day's the 30th, Monday the 30th, it'd be Tuesday the 31st.
Tuesday the 31st.
Is that gonna be a problem?
It shouldn't be for me. I'm on summer vacation by then.
Okay. All right, so we'll just keep that flexible too. So right now, we're still on for the 9th and the 23rd unless we have to pivot and make adjustments. All right, that's all that I have, Mr. Stiles.
Just 2 very quick things here. Just want to just say, just more excitement than anything for Ms. Cooper, Ms. Juan Snyder at the high school. Their leadership with the Hope Squad deserves to be publicly praised. I'm not sure if anyone had the opportunity to come out Saturday evening to the Walk of Hope to support and promote positive mental health. But their leadership has really inspired the Hope Squad students at the high school. And what the kids did Saturday night for the community just deserves absolute public recognition. You saw students from all neighborhoods in this community rise to the occasion to really put an event on that truly rallied the community. The event was packed, a lot of great excitement, lots of activities for the community to engage in. Children were hula hooping with 5 hula hoops at one time. It was just a fun evening, supported by many folks, including Deanna Shores and her organization. But just want to take a moment to celebrate those 2 staff members and their students in that organization. I know they're in their 2nd year of really being up and running, but they're starting to have a huge impact. Excited to see what they have for the future with the Walk for Hope as we walk into the upcoming years. Had a community member say, you know, if we keep this up, the word we, if we keep this up, we're going to run out of space back here and we're going to find a different location. So I thought that was the ultimate compliment. Do want to close with my comments tonight, just focusing on what I think is really the best topic of the evening, and that is the potential for the investment in the community center. I know preschool is our major priority as well as some youth space. But as I sat here tonight and heard the committee's vision on how this can support the community as a whole, people of all walk of life who attend different schools across this entire community, and what the bigger vision can do for them, this is more than just preschool space. It is my hope that the feasibility study comes back in favor of adding addition onto that campus. And if so, it would be my hope that the board does support that just for the sake of investing in our youth. We've talked about that as a priority. Just really excited about the potential vision that was shared tonight by Mr. Hightower, as well as all the different committee members that were present. Truly one of the most exciting topics I think that I've been able to really hear and talk about sitting in the seat, and really curious and anxious to see what this will look like in the upcoming months. And I'll just close by saying, if our county commissioners are listening, we would love to have you partner with us and support this vision on a larger scale and what it can do for our community, especially our youth here in the city of Middletown.
Thank you. There are no further comments. Is there a motion for adjournment?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor of adjournment, say aye.
I
Opposed, same sign.
Have a good evening.